Here we go. Hello. Hi, Kelly. I'm Lisa Wilby. The podcast is The Soul's Kitchen. I want to have conversations with people who are living their soul's desire or purpose and find out, for lack of sounding corny, what is cooking up in their soul. So I'm welcoming today Kelli Urquart of Skin Potion Naturals. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So Kelly, tell us about you and your business and what Skin Potion Naturals is all about.
Okay, so I'm a single mom of two. I live in the Fredericton area. My kids are now 9 and 11, and I have been a single mom for going on 8 years. And I started the business in 2012.
Wow.
Um, I suppose you probably want to know my story, how it started. I mean, everyone wants to know
Yeah, I
that,
think
right?
so. And what, yeah, because this is what you do, right? This is your
Yeah,
life.
this is my life. It's my
And it's
passion.
there. That's exactly what I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how did it become your passion? And then
So,
how did you turn it, sorry, and I'll let you talk, I promise.
yeah.
And how did you turn your passion into your life's work? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, it's not a super exciting story or enigmatic or anything like that. But what was happening was that I was using Bath and Body Works products, and they smell amazing, but
Right.
they don't nourish your skin. So I was using like the shower gel and the body lotion,
Yeah.
and I'd get out of the shower and I'd have to slather on all the lotion, and half an hour later I'm like really itchy,
Oh,
and I look at my
okay.
skin and it's really dry, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I know I smell amazing, but I don't feel good.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's when I kind of got a little bit nerdy. It's who I am. It's part of who I am. I get
Mm,
curious and I start digging, and I started
okay.
researching ingredients, and the more I researched, the more I learned, how toxic it was for us. Now this is before I
Mm,
even had kids.
okay.
This started about a year and a half, well, just over a year before I had my first son, my first child. Um,
Okay.
so I started experimenting, and I thought, well, the best thing I discovered in my research that the best thing to use is a good handmade soap. And I used to buy soap from a lady at the farmer's market in Moncton, whose name was also Kelly Lynn, which was really fun. And she had beautiful soaps, but there was something about her soaps that still left my skin dry. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to make my own soaps, but I'm going to make them so they're more nourishing and more moisturizing, and so
Right.
that I don't get itchy a little while later. I'm not trying to knock her business. She makes beautiful soap. She's very successful. So I don't even know if she's still operating, but
Mm,
amazing smelling soaps.
okay.
And that's how it started. And one of my favorite products that I used to use for about 5 years or more was a beeswax hand salve, because
Mm,
nothing else nourished the skin on my hands and like the little cracks that you get at the end of
yeah.
your fingers in winter, minus 30-degree
Yeah.
weather. So those are my first two products that I started experimenting with. And then after I started the business, let's skip back a beat.
Okay.
I started making all this soap. I started experimenting. Oh, I'm going to try this recipe, and I'm going to try to add this, and I want it to smell this way, and I want it to look this way. And then about 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant with my first.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I'm still experimenting, and my soap collection is growing. It's taken over a whole shelf in the basement, and I'm like, this is like a lifetime supply of soap, but it goes bad. What am I going to do with all the soap?
Oh, okay.
So I started selling it for really cheap to family and friends and
Right.
local
Okay.
people, neighbors, and things like that. People really loved it. So they would say something like, well, can you make one that smells like this? Or can you make one that does
Mm,
this, has this ingredient? And I started from there. And about 3 months in, I got a spot in the Oromocdale market. There was a current soap maker there already, but she left really
okay.
soon after I inquired. I think she lives down in like the Hampton area outside St. John.
Okay.
So I was able to grab that spot, and it's a monthly market. And I did that for about 3 years. That really grew my business and got me face to face with people and
Okay.
interacting and learning what people want, learning, like getting the feedback about my products, because I expanded really quickly onto other products. And learning what works for people, what doesn't, like getting this firsthand experience from people was extremely valuable. And
Wow.
then also the testimonials about how much it helped people with dry skin or eczema, or, you know, people who want to get away from toxins and all that chemical crap at
Right.
Shoppers.
And
And
also what would work in like a soap or the recipes? Because I think you have to have, their soap is gotta be made a certain way.
it's got to be made a certain way. You have to
Yeah.
follow the ingredients, the directions, the measurements. It's chemistry, right? It's like if
Yeah.
you take a cake,
Yeah.
baking a cake is different from baking a dish on the stove. Like you put
Right. Oh,
chicken and
yeah.
rice together and some vegetables, you can dump anything in there that you want to. But if you're baking a cake, like you have to have the chemical reactions for it to
Right.
turn out properly.
Yes.
Um,
So that's what soap is like. You have to
yeah,
have that. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
which has been an exercise in patience for me because I'm a dumper. I like to dump all kinds of things in there.
Yeah.
And I still do it to this day, and I'll make a batch of muffins and dump some other things in there, and it doesn't quite turn out, but I'll say to the kids,
Still
we're
eat
not
it.
wasting it. We're going to still
Right.
eat it. Yeah. So shortly after I started the Oromocto Market, I got a spot in the Oromocto Galleria. Kim
Yes.
asked
I
me
know
to join
Kim.
there. Yep. And Sarah at Whimsy, she was opening a shop, and
Right.
she asked me. So I've been at Whimsy since the very beginning. I think the Galleria was open for a few months
Okay.
when I joined. So both of them have been absolutely instrumental in my growth and my success, and people having access to my products.
Okay. So
Yeah.
tell us about so you started with soap and
Yep.
then you said you went into other products. So, and then I want to get back to your soap too, because you got some really neat designs in your soap for those who don't know, who
Yeah.
haven't
And
heard of you yet, but
yeah.
yeah. So I want to know
So,
how you did that and then what other products you got into.
okay. So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So I started with like just a basic hand and body soap
Hmm.
and a beeswax hand salve with like olive oil. The hand salve has evolved. I mean, all of my products have evolved over the years. Like I'm
Yes.
always tweaking and experimenting and trying new things and seeing what works better and like getting my system honed in, making things more efficient. I think after the hand salve, I created something called healing butter, which is now called Skin Medic. So that is like a
Okay.
multi-purpose, herbal infused, almost like a natural medicinal all-purpose healer. So it's great for eczema, it's great for diaper rash, for healing tattoos, for my
Okay.
son has been using it on acne because he's 11 now and he's getting the breakouts. And it's the one product that he's consistently used. And I keep looking at his skin like, your skin's so much better now than it was
Wow.
2 months ago. So that's been
That's
tested and proven. Yeah.
that's
So
pretty cool to see your product like that just do what you
yeah.
want it to do. That is so cool.
Yeah, because honestly, I was going to Shoppers and getting like acne products like salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide, and nothing was working. He would use them for a month and it wouldn't improve that much. And I said, all right,
Right.
let's just use this wash and my Skin
Right.
Medic just to try and see. And that's been
Yeah.
the best thing he's used so far. So I'm
That's
still like,
amazing.
I'm still a huge proponent of choosing natural products because there's so much power in the natural stuff. We don't need to use lab created crap that
Right.
is
Yeah.
it might have one ingredient that's going to help the problem, but it's got this
It's
whole
yeah.
other array of absolute crap.
Right. No, that's yeah, awesome. And so
Yeah.
so I know because I've used your deodorant. I also have your soap. Now I want to try more products because I kind of knew you did that, but I guess I didn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me finish answering your question. You
I'm
asked,
so sorry. Yes, I'll let
no,
you
that's
talk.
okay. I rambled on
That's
on a
okay.
tangent. So yeah, there's the healing butter, and I
Yes.
changed the name of that a few years ago because Health Canada was probably going to crawl up my butt about that.
Okay. Okay.
And so then I even got into making shampoo bars before I discovered how dangerous using real soap on our hair is. And that was from experience. And now when people ask me about, do I make shampoo bar? I say no, and you should never buy a shampoo bar that contains sodium hydroxide,
Mm.
which is lye, because the pH is so high, it's extremely dangerous for
Oh
our scalp and
gosh.
hair.
Okay.
And I used it myself for 2 years, and I discovered the detriments of it. It wasn't
Okay.
pretty. Yeah, really itchy and dry. My hair was breaking off. Very bad.
So,
Um,
yeah, okay, I'll ask you a question after that. Go ahead, sorry.
okay. So, yeah. And then somebody asked me, an old friend who was buying my stuff said, "Do you make natural deodorant?" And I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, that's a great idea." And
Yeah.
this was back in like 2013, before natural deodorant was actually a
Wow.
thing. So there was other companies, other um, little sole proprietorship companies like
Yeah.
myself who were making them. I started researching, I started experimenting, and I came out with a formula that people really love, but I've tweaked it over the years and it's just got better and better and better all the time.
Mm.
So that's been a huge hit. And then I made liquid soap for a while, but that's just a lot more work than it's really worth.
Okay.
And God, what else? So now I make like a premium face soap with
Mm-hmm.
clays that's detoxing and moisturizing, non-drying, all the good stuff.
Mm.
A toner, a face cream, a mud mask, a facial
Wow.
scrub that I use fine ground salt and sugar in. Because when you use scrubs on your skin, it causes micro tears, which can
Mm.
um, speed up the aging process. And if you're micro tearing your skin, like you're damaging your skin. So, like
Right.
coffee scrubs or apricot kernel scrubs
Okay.
or salt scrubs or sugar scrubs,
Yeah.
like any of that stuff, you really shouldn't be using on your face. So, I fine
Okay.
grind mine and I call it a polish. It's very, very fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
um, what else? I make a hair and skin serum. So it's like a face oil, but you can use it on hair. Great for curly hair.
Okay.
I
Good to
can
know
give
because
you,
yeah, I want to try that because anyway, but yeah,
yeah,
it's not
I
about
can give
me.
you some samples
Okay.
anytime. I love to give
Okay.
out samples because usually people discover how nice it is.
Right.
And it's not that I'm trying to get people hooked. I'm trying to help
No.
people because I also
Yes.
sell these things at a price point that's very affordable. So like my hair and skin oil, if you were to go down to like a high end health and wellness
Mm-hmm.
store or something, you're going to pay like 60 or $80 for the exact same thing that I provide. And I sell
Right.
it for 24 or
Oh
28.
my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know you made a hair oil. God, I'm learning a
Yeah.
lot.
So I also made a body butter for a long time, but I'm discontinuing that and making a body cream. So it's going to be like a silkier formula, whereas the other one, it didn't contain water, and then I didn't have to put preservatives and things like that in it. So it was more natural and pure. It was like a
Okay.
whipped butter kind of thing. But now I'm transitioning over to a body cream, which is going to be
Okay.
it feels lighter on the skin. It's not going to be as greasy, but it's going to absorb better. And it's just a nicer experience to use, really. And then I can still put all the natural stuff in there. I can get some colloidal silver in there
Oh my
and
goodness.
some anti-aging extracts and things like that.
And where do you find all your ingredients? Like how?
Yeah, so I go between sometimes I can source things on Amazon, like my
Mm-hmm.
jars I get on Amazon
Okay.
because when I need them, I don't have to pay shipping
Right.
and they show up sooner. So I can
Okay.
also transfer that savings onto the customer. For a while I was
Right.
using glass, but then people were saying, well, I broke it, now I need another one. And I'd find out
Right.
people are carrying them in purses or
Ah,
backpacks or gym
okay.
bags and things like that. So I thought glass,
Not gonna
it's
work.
it's
Yeah.
eco-friendly, and I'm kind of torn actually. Like it's eco-friendly, but it's not practical for people who are
Right.
on the go. I'm on the go a lot.
Okay.
I got
Yeah.
jars of things everywhere, and if I'm breaking a jar all the time, it's just
Yeah.
not going to work.
That makes so much
Yeah.
sense. Goodness. So you started like for yourself and then
hmm
experimenting. So when did it turn into, I know you said it kind of evolved naturally, but this is your business now. So when did you start doing this like full time, turn it into a business?
Yeah, that's a really great question because that brings me back to another pivotal point in my timeline. Um,
Okay.
so when the kids were they were 1 and 3. Um, One had just turned 2, and the other one was going to turn 4 in about 2 months when I split with their dad.
Okay.
And one day I sat down and I did the math. So it was like a hobby business still at then. It was only about
Right.
3 years old, the business. And all I was doing was selling at Whimsy and Oromocto Galleria in the Oromocto market. I wasn't doing like huge trade shows or Christmas markets or anything like that. So when I became a single mom, I sat down and I did the math one day, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? I don't have specific or extensive training in anything. So it's not like I was going to be able to go out and get like a managerial position or something super technical to like a well-paid job. So I sat down, I did the math about what it would look like if I was to go out to work, get a job, and put my kids in daycare, or how it would look if I, like, both financially and like the schedule and the amount of stress that would be involved, my day-to-day activities and the raising my kids and stuff like that. And when I looked at it, the daycare was going to be extremely expensive for 2 kids. And I think that I was going to barely cover daycare and rent and car payments and gas and food. And then thinking about all the extra stress that would bring,
for sure.
I thought I'm better off staying home. And what did it work out to? It was going to be like $1,600 for 2 kids for daycare per month or something, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I can save that money, stay home, raise my kids, and keep growing the business. At least I have this little business. Like it's an option that I could keep growing. So that's what I did. And it's just grown from there. And keeping my eyes on the prize at first was about, okay, when the first kid goes to kindergarten, then I can work a little more. Okay, when the second kid goes to kindergarten, I can really get off the ground then. And I did. And now the business is at the point where it's a decent little income, but I've still got more work to do to get it to the point, where it's a good income and it's really getting out there. But right now, God, what was I going to say? Like, it's right now.
It's good. Like you made it work.
I've made it work, and it's a bit of a machine right now. People know it. People love it. People like it. People who buy one product usually come back and try other things. Yeah. And then eventually they become like dedicated customers. So I have a group out there who likes, knows, and trusts the stuff that I make.
Yes.
And that feels really good. Like, it's such a fulfilling line of work for me. And it's definitely my soul's purpose, is to be able to help people. Yeah. Because it's not about the money for me. It's about making good things and helping to educate people about choosing natural products and helping them discover that they actually work better than the crap that's in store shelves.
Right. Yeah. I love that you use the word crap. But no, that's amazing. That's exactly, it's just so inspiring. And then you do something that you love, and then the money comes.
Exactly. And
I know you have to work at it, but it's sort of what work, you love what you do, and you do what you love, like that, know.
I mean, there's a lot of times where I think about it and I'm like, oh, how much longer am I going to be able to do this? Like, there's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of little things. Like, it literally keeps me spinning in circles all day, every day. And I joke with my kids. I mean, it's not really a joke, but I say to the kids, like, this business was my first baby before I had those 2 other babies. Yeah, because I've had to nurture it and grow it and take care of it and keep it from dying. And things like this.
And figure out what it needed and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing I keep thinking about is your kids have never had an artificial product on their skin.
I wouldn't say never. My son is using Head and Shoulders shampoo right now. But I mean, very, very scarce. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love that, because I'm thinking, because I've always been a coffee lover, and my kids, when they've never had a bad cup of coffee. Like when they started drinking coffee, it was always good coffee. So it's like when I started out, it was cafeteria coffee, or then I think we had Tim Hortons, not to bash Tim Hortons, but I had to kind of work my way up to what a good cup of coffee was. And so that's why I said that. So my kids have never, like, now they're all coffee lovers and all of that. So they never had to go through having a bad, I'm sure they've had a bad cup of coffee, but you know what I mean.
They know the
Doesn't mean like,
difference now.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like your kids, they've been brought up on these products, and then even in the business, and I've seen you at markets, and I've seen your kids at markets with you. Like that's kind of really cool to watch up,
Yeah.
grow up watching their mom and being part of the business and learning that.
Yeah. And I've
That's pretty
included
cool.
them for quite a few years now, ever since
Yeah.
they were old enough to put a label on straight.
Right.
I've been incorporating that child labor. And now I go to the markets and I tell people this. I'm like, I'm so proud of them. I'll pull into
Aw.
the Garrison market and my son, who's 11, will jump
Yeah.
out, open the hatch, and start unloading things.
He's just doing it.
He knows what to do. He knows where things go. He knows the drill. He loves to help. He loves to be able to use his strength and his motivation to help me.
Well, maybe through him you'll start doing some shaving products or something, or maybe you already do that.
I did venture into that for a
Okay.
while. I made shaving soaps. I mean, they weren't
Yeah.
they weren't very good, but I sold a few. And what else? Men's products. I do make some targeted men's soaps.
Okay. Oh yeah, because I've seen you. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. Thank you for bringing it back to soap, because you've got some
Yeah.
really cool. I don't want you to give away any secrets, but you've got some really cool like soap designs, like the
Yeah.
way your soap looks, and then the colors in it, and then you've got like this fundy beach one, I think.
Yeah.
And it looks like a sunset and the beach and the sky. I mean, like, how did you come up with that?
A lot of trial and error and experimentation.
Yeah.
And right now, like the swirly soaps that I have, I'll circle back to the Fundy Beach one in a sec, but the swirly soaps that I have, for years and years, I would make soap and they kind of look like gloopy and stuff like that. But as just like anything, like even
you get better at it.
You get better at it. You
Yeah.
learn how the materials work together.
Right.
And then you see how it turns out. Okay, I'm going to do it this way this time and see how it turns out. And I'm going to try a different technique next time and see how that turns out. And then finally, one day, like 3 or 4 years ago, like everything just clicked. And the swirls started turning out. And I was like, I've just happened upon my method. So there is like a secret trick to my method that I haven't seen anywhere else. I'm sure that I didn't invent it, but
you figured it out.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in any other videos, so it's really interesting. But the same with the Fundy Beach one. I started making, when I first started making it, my idea was to use the salt water from the Bay of Fundy. So I go and I collect the water and I filter it. For a while, I used to heat it up to sanitize it, but then I was noticing that it doesn't make any difference because actually the salt water is kind of self-preserving.
I was going to say it's probably sanitized in its own way, maybe.
In its own way. So what I do is I just make sure to filter out. I just run it through a fine filter because it filters out all the little organisms. There's like, tiny little shrimps and little snails and things like that in there that we don't even see.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So as long as I filter it, it's good to go. And like I've left some in a bucket in the workshop and I will keep checking it. I think I got up to like 9 months and it still hadn't gone bad. Whereas any other kind of water from the tap would go bad.
Right. That is so you even make that soap out of the seawater?
Out of the seawater.
Oh my God.
All the water that I use in the soap is from the Bay of Fundy. I don't add any other water.
That is so healing for the skin because I find the ocean, like I love the ocean. It just, I always feel so good after being in it, like that salt water. But there's more than just the salt. It's like you say, all the little things. That's so interesting. Do you use salt?
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, do you use salt water in any other soap or just the Fundy?
I add a little bit of salt to my regular soaps because it helps the soap harden and last longer.
Okay.
But it's just I use just granulated salt. So I reserve the salt water from the Bay of Fundy for the Fundy soaps.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of their charm. And I'm also bringing home like the energy of the beach too, right? So when you're washing with it, it's like you're literally pouring the essence of the beach on yourself. And
oh my God. Okay. Well,
it's a whole other experience to wash with these.
I did not know that about right now I'm using your rose patchouli soap. So I've got your soap in my bathroom right now. It's a good one. I love the smell. And I mean, your soaps are beautiful, but this, I did not know this about the Fundy. I just thought it like that was a cool design. I did not know all of this behind it. That is so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I know it's a really tricky one because it's a really nice soap to use. Like when you wash with it, it's extra refreshing. The essential oil blend is fantastic, but
Yeah.
then this whole energetic component of using the salt water on your body, and it's toning for the skin, and you know,
Oh
you feel
God.
like you spend a day at the beach. But then I make it so pretty that people are like, "But I don't want to
Well,
use it."
this
And
is
I'm like, "I
why
know."
I know. That's why I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God, that is so good. Yeah, you just want to look at it,
Yeah.
but you got to use it.
But
That's awesome.
I've literally said thousands of time at markets, thousands of times
Yes.
when people are looking at it, I don't want to use it, and I'm like,
Use
I
it.
understand. Put it on a shelf for 6 or 9 months to enjoy it and let it smell up your bathroom.
And then use it.
But please use it eventually because it feels amazing. And they're like, oh, okay, I will.
So what does it smell like? Because I didn't. So there's an essential oil in it. You said what?
Yeah,
What is it?
there's an essential oil blend. It's got what you're smelling is lemongrass, eucalyptus, and spearmint, and then there's a little bit of lavender. There's a few other things, but that's
So
what comes
kind of
forward.
smells like the ocean then, maybe like a little
Very
bit of
refreshing.
all of that. Oh my gosh. Okay, well I
Yeah.
got to run out today and get some. I have another question for you, if that's okay, because now I'm fascinated. I always liked your products before, but now I'm like fascinated, and this is so
Okay.
good to hear all these things. So you talked about hair bars. So you don't make soap bars for the hair because of the lye. So there's the lye is what is in the soap that gives us its structure. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll give you
Yeah.
a little mini lesson. So
Okay.
in order to make soap, you need fats or oils. So
Mm-hmm.
you can use butters, you can put beeswax in there, but you got to melt it down to the liquid state. And then
Mm-hmm.
you mix lye crystals
Mm-hmm.
with, which is, it almost looks like large salt grains,
Mm-hmm.
lye crystals with a certain amount of water.
Okay.
You let that, and when you add the lye crystals to the water, the whole thing is called exothermic, so it heats itself up.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, it becomes very, very, very hot. It throws off steam, fumes. So it's like you have to wear either a respirator or do it in a
Mm-hmm.
well-ventilated area or cover it. There's other tricks to it. Once that cools down to room temperature. So what I do is I master batch it, it's called. So I do it in a big bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just decant out whatever I need for a batch of soap.
For a batch. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's already room temperature, and it's a lot easier to work with that way. So when that's, and I do, there's different ways. Some people work with hot oils and hot lye water, but I work with it at room temperature. That
Mm-hmm.
way it doesn't heat up too fast. So hold that thought.
Okay.
You add the lye water to the melted oils and butters.
Mm-hmm.
At whatever temperature you want. So as I said, I like to add it when it's all room temperature.
Okay.
And then when you add the lye to the oils, it heats itself up a little bit more because the reaction starts. So they both start off liquid, but as you use an immersion blender, and as you're mixing, it turns into like a pudding type consistency.
Okay.
When you're making like instant pudding. And if you keep going, if you keep mixing it and keep waiting, like, and as you're mixing it, it's heating up, and it's basically like the reaction is starting. It's making soap. And if you keep going, it's going to solidify. But the reason I like to work with it at room temperature is that the oil, everything stays cool longer, and then I can do those intricate swirls. It stays liquid.
Okay.
So I can pour it into the mold and get those swirls. Because if it gets too thick, it gets all gloopy, and you can't get
you can't get the swirls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice lacy swirls.
Oh my goodness.
So
okay.
So, and then you put it in the mold and you let it sit there for a few days, and then you take it out and cut it, and I put it on a shelf in the workshop where it gets lots of air circulation, and then it sits there until it's a month old, and then I label it, and it hits store shelves. So it takes some planning and patience. And
some time. I didn't realize it was a month. Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
So you are always thinking ahead then.
Mm-hmm.
And
always thinking ahead, always have to have my ingredients on hand. Going back to answer your question too, where I get my ingredients. So there's not a lot of local places to source ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
I get my lye crystals right now at Home Hardware. I think I've always gotten them there because to get them shipped, you have to pay a danger fee because it's caustic if it spills, like it's dangerous, or it gets on people's hands, or you breathe it in, like the powder. I get my olive oil and my sunflower oil and my coconut oil at Costco. I used to be able to buy it right at Costco, but now I get it in bulk size packages, so I order it.
Okay.
Some things I can get on Amazon depending the quality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then I have two main suppliers here in Canada where I get specific ingredients like organic shea butter, argan oil for making my face oil, and some other things.
Okay. What about the essential oils, like for the smells? Where would you?
I buy the essential oils from a company called New Directions Aromatics in Ontario. So they have a Canadian site and they also have an American site. And this way I can get them in like half-liter or liter containers, because that's what I'm using now. I buy it a liter at a time.
Right. So when you first started, you had to find all this stuff and experiment with even different suppliers. Oh, that is so interesting. So what do you want people to know, whoever may be watching this? So we're talking from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, in case someone watches this from, you never know. So how can they get a hold of your products in town or through, like, how would someone find you? Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
So long to ask that. Yeah.
So I do have a website, skinpotionnaturals.com, and I ship all over Canada. And I don't use Canada Post. So I use like another shipper, and they go with like Purolator and UPS and FedEx and Canpar. So you're going to get the parcel faster, but then it's going to be cheaper than Canada Post too.
Right.
Which is nice. So you can read about everything on the website. All of my products are on there, all of the ingredients, the directions. Like, I'm super transparent because I want people I don't expect everyone to be as nerdy as me about the ingredients, but the information is there if you have any questions at all. And then I sell at Whimsy and Oromocto Galleria, Consciously Clean Refillery downtown.
Yes. Fredericton,
which I love because you can take your jar of deodorant that you first bought, or any jar. You can take a jar from another company and go and get it refilled with my product.
With your deodorant, yes, I've done that. Yeah.
So you can get as little or as much as you want at a time.
Right.
So I've also got in bulk there. I've also got the face cream, the mud mask, the hand cream, the Skin Medic that I was talking about, that's great for eczema and dry patches.
Okay.
What else? The face toners, the hair and skin elixir, and I'm going to have the body cream there soon.
Amazing.
For February 1st.
Okay, amazing. Yep. And I have to talk to you about how getting a sample of that hair elixir, the oil, the serum. Yeah. Am I saying the right words? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I call it hair and skin elixir.
I love it.
I also sell a few things up at Bliss Boutique. Up on Hanwell. And Beaverbrook was carrying my Fundy Beach and a few other things for a while, but I
saw that there. But they don't anymore?
I don't know. I haven't heard from them. It's just
okay. Well, right. But it's a great spot because it's so visible, I guess.
Visible, and because it's an artistic soap too, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. Yeah, I've seen that. Thank you, Kelly. I really enjoyed this conversation about what is, cooking in your soul, literally your soap. And one more question is your workspace is in your home, right?
I have a dedicated workshop in my home that I keep closed off and separate. Yeah. So it makes cool. And because I rent, it's made things a little tricky that way. But right now I'm out in Douglas on the border of Keswick. So I was able to find a good place out here.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know where life is going to take me next, but I'll definitely stick around the Fredericton area.
Yeah. And still making your amazing products. Well, thank you so much. I love talking to you. Thanks for being on the Soul's Kitchen.
I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Lisa.
Awesome. Okay. We're going to end now and just stay on. We can have a little chat after.
Okay.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay.
Thanks.